I am a pretender. In order to maintain my image as a melancholy girl, I pretend to be cold and melancholy every day until I entered a horror game world. When I was facing the horror and weirdness and wanted to scream, I was told by the system that all my actions would be broadcast live 24 hours a day. I held back. Under the bloody rain, other players hid in the safe zone and dared not come out. I walked in the rain with a transparent umbrella, wearing J. Kyolite wire headphones. The boss, who had a bloody mouth in the last second, blushed instantly. He looked shy. Oh, me. I smiled. If melancholy is a talent, then I must be gifted. I was listening to sad music and imagining myself walking on the streets of Tokyo in the last second, and I was in a horror game world in the next second. There was a strange electronic voice in my ears. Welcome player Zhang Wu to enter the S-level copy, Urban Tales. You will pass the level by passing all the Tales levels in the copy. The time limit is 5 days. The current number of players is 50. I wish you a happy game. On the cold and damp street, there was a gray building in front of me. A gust of cold wind blew past, and everyone subconsciously hugged their trembling bodies. Only I had a blank expression and a melancholy look. Because this is my character setting, in reality, my heart was already screaming like a crazy groundhog. Mother, where on earth is this? I'm so scared. There was already a timid girl next to me crying for me. Where is this? I was walking home from school and suddenly I appeared here. A gangster kicked the street lamp next to him. What the hell is this place? Suddenly he stopped and looked at me in a daze. I stood there quietly under the dim street lamp with a melancholy, uncalm face which was completely different from the panic around. I didn't notice his weird look. My mind was full of street lamps, but they are the magic weapon for creating a melancholy atmosphere. So I immediately stood under the street lamp. Even if I was in a weird world, I had to stay melancholy at all times. Just as I was still maintaining my character, a terrible scream suddenly came from the crowd. Ah, help, there are monsters. I looked up and saw that in the endless darkness there seemed to be a strange thing crawling and swallowing the players. Then there was a creepy chewing sound, and everyone was scared and fled. I took the steps back, but still held back, then leaned directly against the street lamp, looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, and showed my standard jawline. I definitely can't outrun the monsters. In this case, I have to maintain my melancholy character before I die. Even if I die, I have to be decent. But strangely, the monster hidden in the dark did not attack me. When I was wondering, a female voice came out. Go to a place with light. These monsters are afraid of light. Hearing this, several players who reacted quickly immediately came to the street lamp. I staggered and almost lost my character. Sure enough, when I came to the place with light, the monster disappeared. A man and a woman came over with flashlights. They claimed to be old players here, nicknamed Eleven and Tiger. After a brief self-introduction, the two began to explain to the players where they were now. This is a horror game world. You need to complete the game to return to the real world. This is an urban legend copy. You need to pass all the legend levels in it to survive. The monster you just encountered is the first legend called Mr. Shadow. You need to go to a place with light to avoid being attacked by the monster. Hearing this, everyone looked at me with strange eyes. 11 looked at me with deep eyes. As a newcomer, you're not only so calm, but also can find a way to pass the level in such a short time. That's amazing. Well, I was a little embarrassed. I couldn't say that I didn't know anything and just stood in the light just to pretend to be depressed, right? But saying it would destroy my character, so I just nodded lightly and continued to maintain my melancholy character. Soon we entered the building in front of us and prepared to check in. 11 said, eggs cannot be placed in the same cage at the same time. In order to avoid annihilation, each person has a room. But monsters will appear in some rooms, so whether you can pass this level depends on luck. However, because it is second level, the difficulty is not high, so there are only 5 rooms in the whole building where monsters will appear. 11 and Brother Tiger both chose rooms on the 3rd floor. Seeing this, the others quickly chose floors near them. In order to maintain my melancholy personality, I did not rush to grab a room, but stood aside and waited silently. The only room left was room 404 on the 44th floor. This room number sounded unlucky, and other players looked at me with pitiful eyes. I looked calm on the surface, but I was about to collapse in my heart. Why do you treat a melancholy, quiet, and introverted little girl like this? At this time, a barrage of comments passed by. It's over. These people are dead. The monsters on even numbered floors and room numbers are all very powerful. His floor 44 and room number 400 for half-full buffs who told him to keep pretending and not quickly follow the old players to choose a room. Seeing this, I wanted to cry even more, but I still held back because melancholy is my noun. I took the elevator, trembling lion came to the 44th floor alone. After entering room 404, I looked around and felt very satisfied because this was installed exactly according to my dream room. Because I was too scared and busy setting up my character, it was not until now that I realized that the copy I was in was actually set in Japan. Although it was a horror world, at least I came to Tokyo once. I kept comforting myself. When I came to the bedroom, I opened the closet and searched for it. The comments were a little curious. What is he doing? Why is he rummaging through the closet? I don't know. I remember there were no clues or props in the closet. The next moment, I took out a full set of JK uniforms. Touching the soft fabric, I was so excited that tears welled up in my eyes. Mom, I'm wearing a genuine JK, and this one is out of print, 5 figures. My family in the real world favors boys over girls. Not to mention buying such an expensive and beautiful little skirt. I can't even buy new clothes. All I wear are old clothes that my mother and relatives don't want. I took off the bloated and rough gray sweatshirt and black pants and put on the JK. I looked at myself in the mirror and was very satisfied. The super proportion of the 10,000 lines, the big chest, thin waist and plump thighs. It was simply beautiful when I put it on. The comments were shocked. It's already so late, and you're still conceited. That's right, if you don't think of a way to pass the level quickly, and you're still changing your skirt, are you courting death? But to be honest, this figure is really good, and I, a woman, can't control myself. After standing in front of the mirror and admiring enough, I casually turned on the TV, trying to create a melancholy picture of me lying on the sofa and falling asleep alone at home late at night. But as soon as I turned on the TV, I froze over because a woman in a white skirt and black hair appeared on the TV. I recognized it at a glance. This was the famous female ghost Sadako from Shower Eyes. I almost screamed. The comments I held back. Yo, calm down. Don't destroy my melancholy girl character. I took a deep breath, pinched my JK's curtain, leaned on the sofa. Comments. Is this sister okay? She saw Sadako and didn't run away. Sadako will crawl out in a while. My hands shook, and sure enough, Sadako on TV was getting closer and closer to me, as if she was going to rush out of the screen in the next second. I held back my fear and lay on the sofa with the pillow in my arms, revealing a pair of white and slender legs. Farage, although these legs are so beautiful. When I lay down, I look like half a pig. Indeed, it's a pity to lose such beautiful legs. Enjoy them more while you are still alive. I closed my eyes and kept repeating in my heart, demons and ghosts, leave quickly, demons and ghosts, leave quickly. The next moment, a cold and sticky hand grabbed my ankle. I opened my eyes, trembling. Lion was stunned. Then I immediately sat up and pulled apart Sadako's long black hair. A flash of surprise flashed in my eyes. Damn, the congenital melancholy saint body is so beautiful, I exclaimed. Sadako was stunned and grabbed my feet, not knowing how to react. My eyes were full of admiration. This pale skin, thin face, black pupils and long hair, and the faint black under the eyes. It's really full of atmosphere. The only drawback is that there's no bangs, which lacks a bit of messy beauty when the hair is blown by the wind. I couldn't help it, so I picked up the scissors next to me, grabbed Sadako's hair, and coaxed softly, "Baby is so beautiful, but you still need an atmosphere bangs. Wait." I took the scissors skillfully and smoothly and cut a super atmosphere bangs in 3 minutes. I nodded with satisfaction and couldn't help applauding myself. Perfect! The barrage was shocked by my operation. It's awesome. I saw the players cut Sadako's hair. But to be honest, this bangs is pretty good, much better than that of the chief designer. That's it, and you still say I'm 98. Don't waste such good technology. I suggest a national inspection after the game is released. Sadako looked at her current appearance in my pupils, and she really looked much better. She brushed the hair by her ears with some reserve and bowed deeply to me. Arigato. I smiled. No Japanese woman can refuse the super atmospheric bangs. Sadako touched her bangs and climbed back into the TV contentedly. I lay exhausted on the sofa and finally said goodbye. Dang, 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 the bell rang, and the day broke. The cold electronic sound appeared again. Countdown 3 days, 30 players survived, and there are 3 levels left to clear the dungeon. Please keep working hard. After dawn, it entered the safe time, and there will be no danger during this period. I breathed a sigh of relief, just about to go out, suddenly remembered something, and took out a dark gray scarf from the closet, put it on, and instantly the melancholy atmosphere was full. I was very satisfied. I came to the lobby on the first floor to meet with other players. Everyone was shocked to see that I survived 400 for safely. Brother whose eyes changed when he looked at me. I didn't expect that as a newcomer you could actually walk out of 400 for alive. Would you consider joining us? Everyone thought I would agree. After all, 11 and Brother, who are both well known in the horror game world. Forming an alliance with them is like hugging a thigh. I really want to form an alliance, but my melancholy girl character does not allow me to do so. Only when I am alone can I show my unique melancholy temperament, so I can only refuse with tears. There was a 3-point indifference, 3-point calmness, and 4-point dark melancholy in my eyes. Thank you, no, I'm used to being alone. Brother, who was a little surprised. He didn't expect me to refuse. Seeing this, the barrage mocked me. You survived by chance, and you really think you are a dish. I see how you will cry and beg for Brotherhood to save you when you encounter monsters. Hey, girls should not be too strong. Isn't it better to find a man to help you? I ignored the mockery of the barrage. After all, standing at the top means being insulted countless times, and I'm used to it. A muscular man in apron came up to me with a fierce look on his face. Hey, how did you get through? As he approached, I couldn't help but frown. A strong smell of fishy and sweaty smell mixed together almost made me worried. This man seemed to be a butcher who, when choosing a room yesterday, he entered the game world with the butcher knife and robbed other people's rooms. I frowned. What good will it do for me to tell you? The comments accused me. Why do you, a woman, always think about going against men? This woman is a gold digger in the real world, and she talks about benefits all the time. Support that man and kill her on the spot. That's right, the first thing he did when he came here was to change his skirt. I don't need to say more. You should be able to guess what he does in the real world. The butcher looked at me up and down with a disgusting and sticky look, and then laughed. If you tell me, I will not only protect you, but also make you feel like you are in heaven and death every night. I sneered, although I wanted to roll my eyes, but in order not to break my character, I just glanced at him coldly. Looking at his height that was almost the same as mine, I said, "Did you put the pig brain on you when you were killing pigs?" The butcher blushed instantly after hearing this, and Kirsten wanted to attack. I bluffed. "Do you believe that I will make you live tonight?" The butcher's raised fist froze in my dread, as if he was shocked by the gloom in my pupils. What a joke! This is a pair of pure black contact lenses that I carefully selected online to create a melancholic personality. At first glance, they look melancholic, but if you look at them for a long time, they will give you a creepy feeling. The butcher could only put down his fist in dismay. Soon it was night, and as night fell, I returned to the room for 104. According to the system prompt, there are only 3 levels left to pass. I don't know what weirdness I will encounter tonight, but if I can't escape, I hope I won't die too badly. Otherwise, it will be bad for my personality. I waited for a long time, but there was no movement. I was bored and stayed in the living room watching TV, but it was a pity that Miss Sadako didn't show up today. Otherwise, I would like to transform her again. Suddenly, there was a sound of strong slapping outside the door. I thought it was a monster, but I heard the butcher's voice. Damn, bitch, open the door. I frowned and went forward to open the door. As soon as I opened the door, I was pushed hard and almost fell to the ground. The butcher looked around and cursed. I felt something was wrong with you when I entered the dungeon. You are a new player and a woman. You can quickly find a way to crack the game right after entering the game. Now you have survived in this most dangerous room. There must be something fishy here. Did you use props? I was about to say something when I saw the butcher's expression suddenly became terrified. His eyes widened, his mouth opened wide, and a terrible scream came from his throat. Monster, monster. Ah! The next moment his mouth was full of pitch black tentacles, followed by more and more tentacles. The pitch black tentacles tore him and tore his body into pieces, turning it into a pile of minced meat and falling on the ground. Seeing such a bloody scene, my stomach churned and I almost couldn't help vomiting, but looking at the crazy jumping barrage in front of me, I still held back. So many people are watching. If I really vomit, what will happen to my melancholy personality? I took a breath and just turned my head slowly, and I bumped into a face wrapped in bandages. My heart rate soared to the top instantly. The monster teleported in front of me. When I saw the monster clearly, I instantly felt a surge of anger in my heart. Ah, this monster turned out to be a thin and long ghost. This is my favorite monster because every element of it is perfect in my aesthetic point. The thin and long body looks fragile and lovable. The black suit and hat add a bit of abstinence, and the white bandage on the face is a fairy product, which not only adds mystery, but also makes it more atmospheric because you can't see the face. Isn't this a damp and gloomy male ghost? Most importantly, there are black tentacles which simply burst my XP. The comments were full of sympathy for me. The Slender Man has no hair, he's probably doomed this time. Once the zombie's fear value reaches 80, the Slender Man will attack him. But don't you think it's a bit strange? Zhang Wu's heart rate has soared to 130. Logically, he should be very scared. The Slender Man should have taken action at this time. But why hasn't he done anything? Is there a bug? When everyone was puzzled, I cried with tears in my eyes. Dad, the comments were completely blown up. Fuck, is this player crazy? What nonsense is he saying? That's awesome. I saw a player calling a monster dad. What? This woman is obviously kept by someone outside. She's used to calling dad. She thought the monster would fall for it. The first time I saw a real Slender Man, I was a little shy. Well, your suit is a bit worn out. Do you need me to modify it for you? The slender ghost was silent, but I had no fear of him, so he couldn't do anything to me. Seeing that he was silent, I quickly took off his suit jacket and screamed like a crazy groundhog in my heart. Ah, Slender Ghost, out of print peripherals, I made a profit. The Slender Ghost hugged his thin body and huddled in the corner so it was easier to tap. Trying to clear the yellow waste in my mind, I quickly picked up the needle and thread and made a suit jacket suitable for the Slender Ghost. Because my family is poor and can't afford the authentic JK uniforms, most of the time I make them myself, and this needlework is not a problem at all. The Slender Ghost put on the suit jacket I made for him again, and I looked up and down and was more satisfied. His original suit jacket had a bad shape and no texture. He looked like a tramp without temperament. But after my improvement, the originally slightly bloated suit jacket instantly became very upright, setting off the broad shoulders and narrow waist of the Slender Ghost and his hips and long legs. Slurp, it seems that I love it even more. The Slender Ghost looked at his suit with satisfaction. He took off the black hat on his head, bowed to me like a medieval noble with an elegant and gentlemanly movement, and then put the hat on my head. The next moment, he disappeared. The system sounded. Congratulations to player Zhang for obtaining the advanced prop, Mr. Slender Ghost said. This prop has the attribute of defense and can be used to resist for an enemies. The countdown is 2 days, 20 players are alive, and there are 2 levels left to clear the dungeon. As the remaining levels become fewer and fewer, it gets dark faster and faster. But this time the task is not to go to the apartment, but to go to a store. As night fell and everyone was ready to set off, blood rain suddenly fell from the sky. Seeing this, all the players huddled in the building and dared not come out. Who knows what will happen if they go out? But my eyes lit up. The rainy streets in Tokyo, the dampened melancholy me. This is simply tailor-made for my melancholy girl character. I couldn't bear it any longer, so I put on a JK uniform and a dark gray scarf, put on white wired headphones, took a transparent umbrella, stepped on the scarlet blood rain, and walked on the quiet street. Seeing that nothing happened to me, other players followed my example, found umbrellas, and walked into the blood rain. When passing an alley, a woman dressed in black, with long black hair and a pale face, stood in front of a player. The woman tilted her head and said softly, "Hello, I don't have an umbrella. It's raining and I'm so cold. Can I share an umbrella with you and go home?" The player took 2 steps back in fear and yelled at her heartbreaking, "Get out, get out." As he spoke, he swung the umbrella at the woman fiercely. The woman seemed unaware. She tilted her head and grinned, her mouth opened wider and wider, stretched out her hand, and twisted the man's head off. Gotcha! Blood splattered, and the blood rain in the sky became heavier. The woman picked up the umbrella that the man rocked. "Really? It's raining again, but fortunately I have an umbrella." I was walking on the street with an umbrella, listening to the emo songs with weak current in my headphones, when a man blocked me. He was wearing a black suit, and the white shirt inside was stained with bright red blood. The tie was very worn and stained with a lot of blood. A smile slowly appeared on his pale and handsome face. "Hello, it's raining. I don't have an umbrella. It's so cold. Can I share an umbrella with you to go home?" At that moment, my excitement reached the peak instantly. My DK god, this pale and handsome face, as well as broad shoulders, narrow waist, and long legs, is simply my ultimate ideal. You know, I dream of walking in the rain with an umbrella with a DK handsome man. That picture is really too atmospheric. I readily agreed, but in order to maintain my image as a melancholy girl, I still looked calm with only a hint of sadness in my eyes. "Of course, it's my pleasure." I held an umbrella and walked on the street with the melancholy man. Suddenly, I felt something was wrong, and my hand began to rise uncontrollably. I turned my head and saw that the melancholy boy, who was only a head taller than me, was getting taller and taller. I opened my eyes wide and stood on tiptoe with the umbrella held higher and higher. The man lowered his head and gave me a gentle and cold smile. "Since you promised to hold an umbrella for me, don't let me get wet. Otherwise I will be angry, and I can be very angry." The last sentence was full of deep gloom. Barrage, so scary. John Woo's luck is too bad. He actually encountered the big boss hidden in the dungeon. But you know what? This boss is pretty good looking. It's really good looking, but don't forget that he just split the head of the previous player. I swallowed my saliva and suddenly remembered the reminder note the system gave me for completing the task. When you find an unreasonable situation, please pretend nothing happened, and don't let Weird think you found out. I looked into his pure black eyes and swallowed my saliva. He bent down and smiled casually. "Why did you suddenly raise your hand so high?" My mind began to frantically search for coping methods, but after thinking about it, all I could think of worry and copywriting sent late at night. Looking at his growing body, I suddenly said loudly, "Because of being loved, crab meat will grow." The man was stunned, as if he didn't expect me to say that. Barrage. This is the first time I've seen the big boss look so confused. "Don't talk about the big boss. I'm confused too." I struck while the iron was hot. "There's one thing I've always wanted to tell you. That is, I like you." The man's eyes widened suddenly, and his body stopped growing at this moment, looking a little overwhelmed. I looked at his height of 3 meters, raised my head and said loudly to him, "I hope you don't grow any taller, because then I can't hold an umbrella for you anymore, and I can't walk with you. I'm very sad." The man's pupils trembled. I took a deep breath, and the next second I threw away the umbrella in my hand, letting the bloody rain soak me, then suddenly threw myself into his arms, hugged his waist tightly, and touched his strong abdominal muscles twice. I said in an emotional voice, "If you can't stop growing, then I'm willing to get wet in the rain with you." Barrage, oh my God, I don't feel like I'm watching a horror live broadcast, but a pure love Japanese comic. This is too good at teasing. It makes my heart beat. I closed my eyes, and my body couldn't help but tremble slightly because of fear, but the faint Toshin with pine scent on the man made me subconsciously relax my body. This is my favorite smell. My laundry detergent and perfume all had this smell. After a long time, the man's somewhat embarrassed voice came. It's easy to get sick when you get wet in the rain, so you better hold an umbrella. Also, can you let go? You're strangling me and I'm almost suffocating. I let go of him and looked up. He had returned to his normal height just now, but he was more than a head taller than me, who was 1 centimeter tall, so it was still a bit difficult to hold an umbrella. My hands are sore after holding it for so long. The man pursed his lips and suddenly took my umbrella. Let me do it. I turned my head to look at him. His pale and handsome face was stern, his light-colored lips were tightly pursed, but his earlobes were weak. Seeing me looking at him, he lowered his head and unconsciously tilted the umbrella in his hand towards me, protecting me tightly under the umbrella while he was mostly soaked by the blood rain. I smiled, took off a white earphone and put it on his ear. The earlobie, which was originally only slightly red, instantly became redder than the blood rain. There was only the rustling sound of the blood rain in my ears, and we finally came to the only store with lights on in the dark night. Before leaving, I handed him the umbrella. Don't get wet. I will be sad. Remember to pick me up next time it rains. The barrage seemed to explode. Did I tune into the wrong channel? Is this really a horror live broadcast? It's so good. The big boss is so innocent. Other players are fighting with the weird, and these two are flirting here. He stood there feeling very embarrassed. When I was impatient and ready to take back the umbrella, he snatched it away. Okay. When we arrived at the store, other surviving players also arrived one after another. They were covered in blood, their faces were pale, and they looked extremely embarrassed. The system sounded, countdown one day, 10 players survived, and there is only one level left to clear the dungeon. I was shocked. It was worthy of being an S-level dungeon. It was so powerful that only 10 people were left out of 50. While waiting, I started to pick up goods in the store because I was too bored. Thinking of the man just now, I curled my lips and bought a bouquet of pure white roses. Although I don't know why the store has this thing, I only know that this bouquet of white roses matches my melancholy temperament very well. After daybreak, I bought a box of sushi and a drink and date at a convenience store. Other players seemed to be greatly stimulated and did not dare to eat. Soon, night fell and blood rained from the sky again. In the previous levels, no one knew what monsters were, but this time Brother Tiger used a prop, a mirror, which seemed to know what the next level was. Soon, his face became ugly, and for blood-red characters appeared on the mirror, 100 Demons Night Parade. Although it was brief, it meant that all monsters would appear tonight, and the difficulty was obviously hellish. Many newcomers could not help crying. I was calm on the surface, but I was about to collapse in my heart. Mom, can I still go back to the real world? A gust of cold wind blew, and the wind chimes outside the store rang, and the glass door suddenly moved to both sides. This sudden movement made everyone stare at the outside of the store, as if they were facing a great enemy. A pair of black leather shoes stained with blood entered the store, and when I saw the face clearly, my eyes lit up. The man was wearing a black windbreaker and a light gray shirt. He was tall and had long legs. Under the transparent umbrella was a pale and handsome face with some blood on his eyebrows. He ignored the horrified eyes of the players and walked in front of me. His ears were red and he stuttered, I will keep my promise and take you home. Hearing this, my eyes brightened. With his protection, I should be able to pass the game smoothly. Under the horrified gaze of everyone, I left the store with him. This is for you. The man turned his head and his nose touched a handful of soft rose petals, which exuded a faint fragrance. He was a little surprised and pointed at himself. Give it to me. I nodded. Why are you so surprised? The man uttered, I thought you would ask me for props. I looked serious in my heart, knowing you is more important than props. The man's face flushed instantly. My name is Liu King He. Liu King He. I repeated it and then smiled and said, it sounds nice. I like this name very much. Liu King He's face turned redder when he heard it. Our hands naturally drooped under the umbrella, but the backs of our hands suddenly touched each other accidentally. Liu King He shuddered. His neck was stained with a layer of crimson, and he wanted to hide his hands behind his back in panic. I directly reached out and held his hand. I didn't watch pure love anime for so many years in vain. Liu King, he trembled, didn't shake it off, didn't say anything, just let me lead him. Halfway through, a woman suddenly stopped us. Her mouth was torn to both sides, forming a huge hole, and she held a huge pair of scissors in her hands. I recognized it at a glance. It was the slit-mouthed woman. She smiled at me undasked. Is my mouth beautiful? I knew the story of the slit-mouthed woman. If the answer was no, she would get angry and cut the player's mouth with scissors. But if the answer was beautiful, she would say, since you think it's beautiful, I'll make your mouth like this too. No matter which option you choose, it's a dead end. Just when I was in a dilemma, Liu King, he knocked the scissors out of the slit-mouthed woman's hand. No one is prettier than her. The next second, the system sounded an alarm. Alarm! NPCs are not allowed to interfere with the normal game of the players. Liu King, he looked annoyed, and I stopped him. It's okay, I can do it. I handed him the bouquet of white roses in my hand. Put it in the water. It should be able to live for a long time. Please take care of it for me first. Liu King, he stuttered a little. No, isn't it for me? I smiled. This bouquet of flowers has not been decorated yet. I will give it to you after I decorate it. The barrage of comments was jumping wildly. Damn, the sister is too good at chatting. She keeps talking sweet words. Look at what she is doing to our big boss. What? I only noticed the barrage of comments at this time. I looked at the man in front of me who would blush and his heart beat fast when he looked at me. It would be too innocent for this thing to be a boss. But while flirting with men, I didn't forget to maintain my melancholy personality and complete the task. I turned around and said sadly to the slit-mouthed woman, beauty is multifaceted. Why should I care about what others think? The slit-mouthed woman was stunned. She looked at me. There was no fear or disgust in her eyes, only endless sadness, as if I really felt heartache for her. In a trance, she touched the corner of her mouth. I squatted on the ground, dipped my finger in a little blood on the ground, and then smeared it on the corner of my mouth, drawing a mouth corner like the slit-mouthed woman. Then I looked into her eyes and said, seriously, no matter what you look like, I think you are beautiful. The slit-mouthed woman was silent for a long time and handed me her scissors. I took the rusty scissors, and the system prompted, congratulations to the player for obtaining the advanced item, the slit-mouthed woman's scissors. This item has an attack at rebuke and can be used to attack the enemy. I looked happy, and with the hat of the thin ghost, I now have both defense and attack. I can attack or defend. I am simply invincible. Thinking of this, I continued to move forward, and even my steps became much lighter. As I walked, I suddenly came to an apartment. According to the reward system prompts I received, there is a key to leave the horror world. I walked into the apartment. It seemed that no one had lived in it for a long time. The furniture was covered with a thin layer of dust. I started looking for clues, but found a photo album in the room. I was stunned when I opened it. The people in it were all me, but I looked more like a candid photo from many different angles. Seeing this, I was instantly horrified. Mom, there is a pervert. Barely suppressing the panic in my heart, I put the photo album away, searched around, and found a diary under the pillow. When I saw the name on the title page, I was stunned. Liu Qinghe. This is actually Liu Qinghe's home. I opened the diary and read page by page. June 21st, rain. I used to hate rainy days because I was a homeless child without parents to pick me up. Until today, when you came to me with a transparent umbrella smelling of maritime pine, I suddenly felt that rain was a good weather. December 21st, snow. It was snowing and very cold. My clothes were torn again, and you found my embarrassment and took out needle and thread to mend my clothes. At that moment, I didn't seem to feel cold anymore, and even felt very warm. March 17th, sunny. Spring is here, and today is a sunny day. You took out a pair of scissors and cut the bangs that covered my eyes. You said to me, your eyes are beautiful like the starry sky, and they shouldn't be hidden. This was the first time I was praised by someone, and I felt extremely happy at that moment. Zhang Wu, I like you, and I am willing to die for you. June 21st, today is the day we first met. The sultry rainy season is just like my love for you. I really want to confess to you, but unfortunately I am a coward. September 23rd, I had always wondered if parents didn't love their children, why would they choose to give birth to them? This was the third day I was locked in the basement. They took my younger brother out to travel. I always felt that I would die here. September 30th, Jungwoo. These are my last words. Please forgive me for being a little ugly, because I really have no strength left. Today is your birthday. I drank my own blood to try to stay alive and finally made it to your birthday. Well, happy birthday. If there is an afterlife, I would like to hold an umbrella for you once. I stood there in silence, not knowing whether to throw away or keep the thing in my hand. I grew up in a family that favors boys over girls. I am invisible in any occasion, but I have been silently watched, although it is a bit abnormal. I took a deep breath and came to the basement of the apartment. If I guessed correctly, the key to leave should be here. The lock of the basement was rusty and it seemed that many years had passed. I took a hammer, smashed the lock open, and carefully pushed the door in. In the dark and damp basement, a ray of sunlight shone through, and I saw a skeleton curled up on the ground. Next to the skeleton were two lines of blood words. Jongwoo, happy birthday. I like you. I stood there in silence for a long time until my eyes were a little sore, and then I walked forward. I squatted down, bit my fingertips, and wrote next to the blood words with blood. Thank you, your birthday wishes. I received it. I like you too. I heard footsteps behind me, and I turned around and saw Liu King. He's standing at the door. He was wearing a clean white shirt and holding a white rose carefully raised in a vase in his arms. Liu King, he looked embarrassed. You know everything. I nodded. Yes, I'm sorry. Does my liking for you make you feel disgusted? I didn't say anything, walked forward and tiptoed to kiss his lips. Liu King, he was stunned and didn't move. Seeing that he was like a piece of wood, I was a little angry and knocked his head. Idiot, don't you know that you should lower your head when kissing a girl? The next moment, Liu King, he pinched my neck and kissed me fiercely. At the same time, the voice of the system rang in my ears. This time it was no longer cold, but with cheers and joy. Congratulations to player Zhang Wu for obtaining the key, pure white rose. When I was confused, Liu King, he took out a white rose from the vase and handed it to me. Remember the alley where we first met? That's the door you... Then, what are you going to do? I sniffed and suddenly felt like crying. Liu King, he smiled. Jongwoo, we will meet again, but not here. You should go back. I feel like I'm watching a cinematic show. I want to cry. So, Jongwoo and the big boss met in the real world. What kind of fate is this? Looking at Liu King, his eyes, I finally remembered my experience with him 10 years ago. My voice was sharp and hoarse, but I clearly remember that your name was Liu Xin at that time. Liu King, he smiled, because you once told me that you hope every day of my life will be clear and warm, so I changed my name to Liu King He. Zhang Wu, I was born to love you. When I left, I met 11 and brother Tiger on the street. They were covered in blood and looked very embarrassed, but their eyes were full of terrifying madness. At the same time, the system voice prompted, the current number of players is 3. I widened my eyes in shock. There are 3 people, so the only people alive now are me, 11, and brother Tiger? 11 wiped the blood off his face and sneered. I was wondering why I couldn't find you. It turns out you were in the big boss's house. Tiger looked me up and down. I heard you got to high-level props. Give them to me. I tilted my head and smiled softly. Dream on. The 2 people's expressions changed, and 11 took out a gun and pointed it at my forehead, looking for death. As soon as the voice fell, 11 pulled the trigger fiercely, but the scene of being shot in the head did not appear. A black hat was put on my head, and I was intact. 11's face was pale. This is impossible. How can you have such high-level props? Tiger's expression changed, and he wanted to do it. I quickly took out the scissors that Miss Cleft gave me, unclicked the 2 people directly. If I guessed correctly, the reason why other players died so quickly was not entirely because of the weirdness, but because of these 2 people. Because I performed too well, the system gave me a hint. As long as enough players die, you can get more hint notes. So, those novice players were used by 11 and Tiger to find clues. After dealing with the 2 people, I held an umbrella and came to the place where I first met Liu King. I inserted the white rose into the gap in the corner of the alley, and the originally dark and narrow alley suddenly showed a warm white light. I walked into the alley, and the system sound rang in my ears. There was a weird electronic sound in my ears. I opened my eyes again and I returned to the real world. I followed my memory to Liu Qingyi's house. Through the window, I saw Liu Qingyi's family laughing and playing around the dining table. The scene was very warm. No, they are not Liu Qingyi's family, but the criminals who killed him. I dialed 911. Hello, I want to call the police. The siren sounded, and I went to the basement with the police. Pushing open the door of the basement again, I saw Liu Qingyi turned into bones again. I came to his side and squatted down. Don't be afraid. Let me take you home this time.